This conference will now be recorded.
It says recording in progress.
All right, the town board will hold a public meeting beginning at 7 PM on Monday, February 20th, 2023 at Town Hall at 4058 County Road N. You can also join the meeting by GoToMeeting. We have a quorum present. The meeting was posted at the town hall and on the website. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the flag pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You have the minutes of February 6th and the special meeting and regular town board meeting.
We're looking at both the special meeting of the electors and the town board meeting on February 6, 2023 as presented.
Motion by Williams, second by Duplay to approve the minutes for February 6th as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And we didn't have any closed. Finance report and approval of bill.
So you'll see that in addition to the usual, there were a bunch of property tax refunds, all the escrow payments that were over, refund checks issued.
That's a lot.
Yes, you should have signed the check. I'm still signing.
Wow.
Should have lowered the taxes. Takes care of all the school districts and everything.
And the
then.
school districts were paid that, they had to have those checks by today, so those checks were issued last week.
Mice traps.
Yep.
You caught them all.
Is it?
I think so.
Was there a nest up there?
A bird's nest,
When
yeah.
I opened the door, a bunch of junk fell down.
Oh, yeah, they replaced like 4 ceiling tiles out here too.
Yeah. Bird's nest, right?
Yeah, bird's nest.
It's still.
Yeah, there's like 3 of them. actually.
Yeah. I move approval of checks 36057 to 36177 be paid and EFT payments of $16,355.67 be paid.
It was also a void.
Oh, and, oh, I'm sorry, and one voted check 36037 for $29.25.
Motion by Duplay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Fonger to approve checks 36057 through 36177 be paid and the approval of the EFT payments of $16,355.67 and check 36037 was voided. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. You also have in your packet the unaudited cash and investment balance of $3,825,153.94. And you have the January building permits.
I would move approval of the building permits as presented. Second.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to approve the January building permits as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I think somebody asked last meeting about a couple of places on BB and whether they had permits.
I did, yeah.
One of them does have a permit and the other one, the building inspector had already seen and sent a letter to, so.
Oh.
He's on top of
Yeah,
it.
like I mentioned, they're both big garages on the,
Yeah, I did see them.
one's
On the south
attached,
side.
one's attached and the other one is not. It was surprising with those little houses. Actually.
Yeah, with all the study, yeah.
And you want per diems by
The
three,
third.
three,
The third, yeah.
anything else? Next item is public concerns. Public's opportunity to speak to the town board about any subject that is not a specific agenda item.
I'm just gonna introduce Sue then. This is
Okay.
Sue Kyle. She's our new part-time deputy clerk working 2 days a week to complement Amber's 3. So she had like 3 weeks now, 3 or 4 weeks she's been at it. And she's doing a great job catching on really fast and being a big help, so. Happy to have her.
Welcome.
Happy to have her with us.
Thank you.
Next then is to review the January police activities.
I apologize for not having them in advance for you guys. I had a incident on Sandpiper and then my grandfather passed away, so I've been kind of all over the place.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Seems like everybody's on vacation. We have a lot of property checks in the town, so other than that, I don't have a ton. Jen and Christina have been taking a lot of fraud complaints, not a lot of loss of money, but there's definitely a lot of fraud complaints going around, whether it be unemployment or people asking for gift cards and things like that. Just trying to make people aware that they shouldn't be giving their information out because banks and stuff like that aren't going to ask for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I've got calls for service citations in the packet there. Looks like our high speed of the day was 87 miles an hour on 12 and 18.
Slowing down.
Yeah. The only thing we have questions about is where do you want the sign? Or do you have any preference on where the speed board gets moved to?
We got 2 more coming. We're gonna order it tomorrow.
Okay, I saw you had gotten the quote. You did order those?
We're gonna send the paperwork tomorrow, so.
Okay.
Put one on Sandpiper if you want.
Any other suggestions?
You gonna plan on moving the one that's on Violet to the north, or you gonna leave it there for a while, or?
That's the one I'm asking where you want to move.
How long's it been there?
It's been on Violet Road since we've got it. Well, we did northbound and southbound.
That's over a month. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, couple months probably, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was hope.
Violet's Hope.
Have you had it on Violet's Hope?
We haven't moved it from Violet's Hope.
Yeah.
Switch it to 35 or do you want it in the 45 mile an hour zones?
45. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, from what little bit of conversation I had with Jen, I mean, the 35's been pretty calm
Okay.
on that part of Violet's Hope. And just like Mike said, I'm just wondering if you went south, you know,
Okay.
where boom, zoom, zoom, and
Wait.
people
Get cruising down there. Okay, I'll let the Jen know and we can create
Okay.
a site on it. Other things, hoping the attorney would be here. We've had some complaints about people doing donuts and honking their horn and stuff like that. And didn't know if the town had thought of an ordinance for disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle. Would be a easy kind of catch-all for
Who's been complaining or where?
Oh, I mean, like all the,
kind of, you got your regular disorderly conduct, which is kind of
Yeah.
a catch-all, but if you add with a motor vehicle, you can get people if they're doing, somebody's been complaining that somebody's honking their horn. That's not illegal to honk your horn, but they're annoyed.
A lot of donuts this time of year too.
no, I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're parked.
I'm just wondering to see, that'd be a good topic for discussion at an upcoming
Get out of
meeting.
your system while you can.
Well, you know how bad the roads get in the summertime with all the circles and,
Yeah,
you know, the guy with the motorcycle last year who did that half-mile long burnout, you know, all.
problem is if he takes off, I can't chase him.
Well, no, I understand that. No, I just, you know,
It's illegal to use bike strips on a motorcycle.
I did get my first bike though. I did spike a car January.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was a stolen car that the state was pursuing. Ended up crashing in the village, so. Other than that, any questions or anything?
No?
Make sure we move it to Violet's Hope then.
Stay out there and keep us safe.
On my way. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next item, discuss the use of Kennedy Hills Outlot 2 and the Kennedy Hills HOA responsibility for maintaining Outlot 1.
Do you have a price? Well, you have to decide first what you want to do.
Do you? Do you want to do it?
No, are you gonna make Outlot 1 a park ground or are you gonna keep it what it is?
Oh, I was thinking the mowing of the,
Oh, Outlot 2?
yeah.
Yeah, that's with the tractor, big tractor. We'll do that 3 times a year.
So we had estimated about $143 per hour, an hour per mowing, and 3 times a year, so it comes up to just about $430 per year for mowing. If
That's the pond area.
um,
So that's acceptable with the HOA?
That is,
It just covers our cost on everything,
Yep.
basically.
no, we have no issues with that.
Okay,
So I think we should probably have,
have Bill draft something for the two of us to sign agreeing to this.
Yeah, just let us know what the payment terms are, if you want it once at the beginning of the year or after
we'll
every
probably
time.
bill with each mowing, right? That's
Yeah,
what we-
just in case we get a dry summer, we don't have to do it maybe as often.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so we would just bill after each mowing.
Yeah.
Wet or a wet.
Well, sometimes you can't get in the ponds either when it's wet.
Yeah. Okay,
They're more cost now, but with inflation and everything, how often are we gonna re?
That'll be year to year, probably on the expense for employee. I mean,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
we will.
yeah.
okay. Then Outlot 1. Use for Outlot 1. Can you bring that up on the,
Here's the plat map.
I guess we had it backwards, Outlot 2.
Oops, yeah, I was gonna
Outlot
say,
2.
the basins are one.
Yeah. So let the word that different.
So that's what it looks like, the shape of it. See it? Then I also have, you want to see. Doesn't show up very good, but this is out of access vein to show,
That's a big thing in the middle.
yeah, so there you can see the path.
Yeah.
So that's just the rock path right now, right?
correct?
Mailboxes are in that far northwest corner, adjacent to that one house. Yep.
Yeah.
And how big a parcel is that?
Look that up.
2.2 acres.
Okay.
And I think when he originally proposed that to us, our thought was that it would be a walking path with some for adults and some limited exercise equipment space along the path.
What are you thinking? What are you guys thinking?
Full-grown
Is
park.
that what we're thinking? or-
Well, we would like to see a playground of some sort. Kim had previously sent us kind of some playground equipment, I think, from the,
From Burke.
yep, that was
Yeah.
previously ordered for other parks. And we have a lot of kids in the 5 to 12 age group, or some that will soon be there. So we felt like that probably made the most sense. And there's still more houses to be built, but I mean, we probably have about 15 kids there already in that ballpark, and just that little area with, not even 16 houses yet. So it's kind of what increased our urgency to kind of do something. Like we had talked about, the next closest parks are basically you're going up Kennedy, which I wouldn't necessarily want my kid going up or trying to go down BB a ways to get up to that American Heritage. So I understand what was, I guess, originally proposed, but I just know how adult exercise equipment is not
frequently used, in my opinion. And I felt like this might be a better use case. I think, we're certainly not like taking up that whole area. I think we were just taking some smaller section of it, like in the corner or something in one of the spots. And
I see you have a camera.
Dan, how big is, off the top of your head, like, how big the park is over by,
Or by
no, by Christie's, the small one over there. I mean,
That's probably 2 to 3 acres.
but that's not all equipment though, right?
No, there's a baseball field, there's a zip line, basketball court, playground equipment.
We did pick out some equipment, but we thought the Parks Committee would need to look at that, but first the town board would need to decide that they wanted to have a playground there.
yeah, and I don't even think we were thinking baseball field or basketball court, certainly just knowing that there's soccer fields and a baseball diamond, I think up American Heritage is that other one. I think we were just thinking a park, a playground, honestly, but
Maybe to start with something and maybe later on if you needed a court or something, we
I
could do it
mean,
later or what?
yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be against
Yeah,
this.
the room.
We don't want to ask for everything, right? This
Well,
is
but I
just-
mean, you'd have the room for it there.
Yeah, yep, certainly. I think it was just like what the younger kids would use in the near terms.
Dan, if a portion of that were to be, playground equipment, like what they're suggesting, whereabouts which part of that parcel would you think about laying it out in?
Well, you probably wouldn't want to center it, right? Because if you want to do something in the future,
Correct.
but you'd probably want it, I mean, towards more of the houses, and you get the ponds in this corner, I don't know,
Maybe in this,
maybe the west end
this
somewhere.
Where that 90-degree corner is there, where Kim's cursor is?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't smack it right in the corner, but, in that area, probably, it'd be probably better.
Yeah, the only other spot we were thinking potentially, and it is closer to one of the access points,
So
possibly in the
northwest corner, maybe?
just knowing people might, come, not everybody in the neighborhood, like if people did drive there, right, and they'd, slight consideration for that. but-
Yeah, because that would give us good, we probably want to put a couple trees to the south of it then, because they do get pretty warm, out with no trees, so. I want to put a couple trees for shading purposes. I don't know, we'd have to look at them.
Where does the money come from?
Did you pick anything out of this list that you
We did, yep, we did.
put a star by it?
Yeah, let me see if I
Which
can.
one it is?
Yeah, it's just hard to remember.
So now it's all your fault.
Yeah, I know,
Just so we know.
The one it's got some climbers. I guess the other thing, we do have an option and for the,
MU 3206.
Now to
is the one
consider-
you guys said.
That was our preference, and then I think we had did we have an alternate or?
That's all I have in this. email.
So I think most of the ones up here were kind of in a like 1 to 5 year range group that we were.
Still got some American Heritage, big excavator type.
This one was probably our favorite, just, both together, make a climbing stuff, but I think.
Nice climbing area, right?
Okay.
Yeah, my question again, where's the money coming from? Was that from there?
There's money in the park fund. There's
In their
about-
park,
there's
yeah.
about 27,000 in the fund. 21 of it is from Kennedy Hills. And then you had also budgeted $40,000 worth of ARPA money for park this year, so I don't know where you're planning on using that, but
How much is it, Chris?
45,370 is the sale price, has to be ordered by March 29th. It's this one that they circled.
Kim, you said how much is in?
there's 27 in the parks fund. 21 of it is from Kennedy Hills. And then there was another 40 of ARPA designated to be used this year for park equipment.
So this would take another 25 of that then.
Yeah.
That was their preference.
Now, of course, is that installed?
No,
So I mean, that's another 5,000.
that's where the
Well,
neighborhood
we,
is.
yeah.
They would come
We would be
come
willing
into
to.
play and have them installed.
Oh,
Yeah, there was just so you guys know, I think we had mentioned this last time, but we actually, so Tony as a company, we dismantled a playground
No.
in Madison,
Oh, yeah.
prior to the new year, and some of it didn't come apart perfectly, but we do, there is a good slider section that we were able to get out in whole, and, you know, we had that in the, you know, to supplement this park depending on what we could potentially get from the town. So there's a few, we might have an option there to add to it. That was a job, just knowing.
Guess the only other, we can talk, the only other thing that was kind of discussed is possibly extending the gravel path to the other side of Kennedy Hills. So, because right now, the only way we get to that path, if you walk to the turnaround circle that currently is there, is to walk through the mud.
Yeah, we left that short for now because that road's not gonna be a turnaround.
Yeah.
We can pitch that better.
Can you put a culvert and it go through the ditch?
Yeah, we'll have to when they ditch it, yeah.
It just cuts off, you know, everybody else has to walk.
Phase two,
Doesn't really affect me, but
yeah, right now it's flat, pretty flat, and it's gonna be that steep ditch like the rest of it.
Okay.
So we'll have to do a culvert and a walk.
do it later.
Have we heard anything from RESOP as to any plans for phase two? No. So I guess the question town board needs to answer is, do we want to consider putting playground equipment and or this one and forward that to the Parks Committee? And they would have to just act before March 29th if we want to take advantage of the sale.
There's enough time to get them together to look at it.
Well, we got March.
Okay, well, I didn't know. I just,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should. I mean, why not?
I guess too, I'm not opposed to it at all. I guess I would ask that Dan provide, no, I just as far as what costs to get the ground filled in their, you know,
Yeah.
stand or whatever it is that they use, how much additional that's gonna cost.
Well, we'll use chips again from now on,
That's right.
but we'll just have to know the size of hole we'll need for the playground equipment and stuff. Then I can figure out
You
the
guys have somebody that can drill the
43 by
holes or not?
52 feet.
You had somebody
43 by
that can drill
52
the
is the
holes?
size of hole.
That's the
Yeah.
size of
Yeah.
the equipment.
I'll bring some
Oh, so it's
equipment.
go
You get
bigger.
us the
So
material.
42 by
43 by 52.
That's a lot of chips.
and when do we have to use the ARPA money? How long do we have to spend that?
End of next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would we want to take all their money that's in their account right now, or
I don't see.
or the
why-
24,000 or
I
whatever,
would think
Yes.
so,
and
Yeah.
then supplement the rest with the ARPA money?
Yes.
with what we had in the Parks Fund for this year.
You need some of
We don't
that.
want to do anything until the Parks Commission goes through this, correct?
Right.
Okay.
All we're doing is just, yeah, we're just
Forwarding it
basically,
to them to
Yeah.
say that, yeah, we agree that we could put parks equipment in that area and pick out the one you want.
Who's the chairman right now, or the Parks? Oh, well, you could have a meeting anytime you want. Right? Call in for tomorrow.
Give a week break.
Is Linda available?
Linda would be, no, she's getting a new car tomorrow, so I don't think that'll work. Yeah, she would be. She would be available.
But we have other members
Yeah,
that we would
right.
want to weigh in on it, so. Yes, that's the question. Do you want playground equipment? And if so, then I'll call a meeting of the Parks Committee, show them this, give them the cost and see what they say.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Anders,
Second.
second by DePlay to forward this to the Parks Committee with the board's approval for putting some sort of playground equipment in Outlot 1,
discussion,
2, and Hills.
discussion.
Discussion?
have Dan attend the meeting just to verify the location?
He does,
Oh, okay. All right. That was my only question, just to make sure that,
yeah,
so whatever the park committee does, it'll pass muster
yeah.
with Dan.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll let you know when we get Parks Committee together.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
If you need anything from us, just let us know.
Pardon?
If you need anything out of us, just let us know.
Well, if,
A lot of
there-
sweat equity when the equipment comes.
Yeah. and if there's any of that old equipment that you have that you think can be usable, you need to get it to Dan.
Or just let me know what kind of space it's gonna take.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's
And-
based on that only.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to take a look at it to make sure that it's
Good.
going to be safe.
Yeah,
Right, and the Parks Committee may want to weigh in on that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
actually, if you have pictures of what it looked like,
Yeah, I'll get some pictures and we can just,
Yeah.
here's a few things that we think will
and just
be salvage and.
email Kim and then she can include that for the parks.
Okay. Yep, we'll do that.
all right, moving on. Discuss and consider funding potential infrastructure improvements serving the highways 12 and 18 and interchange business park. Hello, Mark, you made it.
Yeah, I did.
How's everything in Janesville?
Yeah, you know where I was,
Yeah,
how that works. Rowdy, Milton Avenue, no. So, hello. I, since the last meeting, was tasked with kind of exploring the potential for payment for the Natfig Road intersection and how the area might be assessed for that improvement. And we did that, and I'll explain what we did, but we also felt it was kind of time to put all the pieces together. You've had some cost estimates for that and other improvements, including getting sewer to the interchange area. You had my study of how much property value you might get out of the interchange area for commercial development under different scenarios. But I don't think we've ever put sort of the revenue and the costs together to allow you guys to think about, how best to move forward in this area. And so I guess is Chris, me, Bill, and Nick felt it might be good to kind of put it all together in one package for you to kind of think about. And so we put together this memo that I think was probably included in your packet late last week, dated the 16th, and I just sort of to walk you through it and let you know what's in there. It's exciting. It's some big kind of decision making that might be in front of you. I don't think it's you can hit a home run, but you might be able to get a single or a double. And so, with that sort of wind up, let me take you kind of through it. So starting with the expense side of things, and Nick, you can chime in whenever you want here, but we put together all the potential expenses of improving infrastructure.
and you get one bad mark for second paragraph, we're not a village.
Oh, yeah. I am sorry about that. And I even had eyes on this thing
It
too.
is the town engineer.
He's a village engineer somewhere.
Strike
Well,
one.
yeah, right. We don't want to hear about that.
Strike one.
So anyway, the cost, he looked at the cost of various improvements. Getting sewer out there from the MMSD interceptor all the way, west where it is. Current cost estimate is $3.5 million to make that happen, to get it to the front door of, the planned commercial development area we have northeast of the interchange of and 12. Water system evaluation ranges from anywhere from about 3.3 million to 5.3 million, depending on whether you could get one of the nearby villages or city to extend their line, Doesn't seem likely, given the recent discussions we've had. So you'd probably be looking more in that $5.3 million range for water, public water. And then we have some kind of road improvements, and they're related to each other. This improvement of Napvig Road to connect to the 28 acres Scar Pit property on the east side of N at about $600,000. And what it would take to extend that road through that property and to North Star Road in one of a couple of different potential alignments at about 1.2 million. So those are the potential sort of infrastructure costs on the expense side of things that we were interested in seeing. Well, can we fund them, and how could we potentially fund them? On the revenue side, this is a review, but we, as you remember, we divided the Highway 12 corridor into, 6 different areas, A through G, whatever that adds up to. The area that we called Area A is the North Star Road corridor and everything north and east of 12 and that has been planned for commercial development. And we said, hey, if we can get sewer out there, we're going to have higher property value. And our guess was the 6.1 million, and I think this is conservative, in total tax increment. That's additional taxes collected by the various taxing jurisdictions over the next 20 years. And if sewer and water were connected, we thought that number would go up to about 9 million. So the more utilities you get, the different types, the user base that you get expands, the property value increases. And this is all based on that analysis we did with different places in our region that have different combinations of utility service. And I guess an important point to think about is that whether that's that 6.1 million or 9 million, if the town were to create a tax increment district around that area, all of that tax increment goes to the TID and not to the school district or the county or the MATC until the tax incremental district closes 20 years later. So that's potential funding to help pay for sewer extension, road improvements, things like that. And then I mentioned that we looked at the potential for creating an assessment district for the improvement to Napvig and that you guys have talked about on and off for the last few months. And the challenges of that is that we need to limit it to those properties that derive special benefit from the improvement. And at this point in time, given the limited geographic scope of that project, the properties are probably just the 28 acres on the east side and about an equal amount, maybe a little bit more on the west side, including potentially the extraction sites there and another piece of land to its north and west. So you have a relatively constrained area. We can't really think about assessing for any properties on North Star Road because those properties don't connect to this improvement. So they're not deriving any benefit from it aside from, very indirect of having a, interchange around the U. So, the option there, and we talked about this with Bill, is, you could defer the assessment and say, hey, maybe these immediately abutting properties that I talked about pay for half of it, and then the town just holds the other 300,000 until and unless you get another Napvig extended all the way east to connect to North Star. And that is an option, but one that the town would be bearing the holding costs for an indefinite period of time until that road was connected through. So we started, then tried to put it together and said, well, what if, or could a tax incremental district, basically the future tax increment be enough to pay for sewer extension, water extension, Napvig intersection, and maybe even connecting Napvig from County N over to North Star Road. And the long and the short of it is that, and this is in the kind of the analysis table, is that if we just look at that one area, that area A, and try to hope or pray that it could fund all those improvements, the answer is no, it really can't. There's not enough projected revenue to, in that one geographic area, to pay for the sewer, to pay for water, to pay for the intersection, and to pay for NAPVIG to extend through. And to try to, and there's a lot of different scenarios, but to try to simplify one, the incremental value of getting water service, municipal water service there versus the cost of getting water service doesn't really make the situation better. It makes it probably worse. So, I mean, if you're looking for a simple narrowing of options, I don't know that thinking about water service really makes sense for that interchange
So
area.
it's only sewer and water.
It would only be sanitary sewer that would, be feasible for a lot of different, not just the fact that it's less costly, but it also gets a little, the incremental bang for the buck of going to sewer versus then going up to sewer and water. You get a little more kick from just sewer than you do from adding the second improvement. And, the thing that is kind of behind the scenes is to get, none of it is going to be easy, but to get water service is going to probably be a little tougher. You have to involve the Public Services Commission, basically go to the state, do a lot of analysis of water systems. It would require at least one water tower, a well. There's not, Nick can talk to this, but there's ongoing maintenance, associated with that. And I'm not saying there wouldn't be maintenance to sewer, but you are connecting the sewer to someone else's system, namely MMSD, and they, charge you for it, but they deal with the maintenance themselves. So there's that potential advantage of just going with sewer as opposed to sewer and water.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Would simply having sewer deter a lot of potential development, or is sewer the overriding concern for, say, a higher tier commercial customer or higher tier commercial buyer for some property there?
You're able to get, I think you can get a better buyer with sewer services, and your range of potential businesses goes up. But the other thing that it results in is that you don't have to provide for a septic drain field and a space on site for that type of thing.
Right.
So you can get smaller sites, so you can get more sites.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
That I realize, but I'm saying is, would the offering sewer only versus sewer and water knock a lot of people potentially from looking at it? Or just by virtue of the fact that you are offering sewer, is a big plus versus the on-site septic?
Yeah, you're not going to be in competition for any heavy water user, like, believe it or not, data centers are heavy water users because they use the water for cooling processes and things like that. Or, obviously any kind of food processing,
But any large building, then they have to have it sprinkled.
That's right. And they would have to pay, that would be a private expense instead of a public, expense to get to the sprinkling notion. So that's a good point. We talked about that a little bit, and forget what the threshold is. It's 10 or 20,000 square feet, and then you have to sprinkle the building.
I thought it was 10,000.
That was 12.
All right, well, something in that range. So then, then whatever that is, that you see a lot of buildings go up to that, but not cross it because they don't want to have to pay for that.
Additional expense.
So that is a limiting factor too, Steve. And I don't know if you can get away with it by just having multiple 11,990 foot buildings or what. That's not my department.
Yeah.
So if we looked at just sewer and looked at just area A, I can't look you in the eye and say it's a good deal if we were just to keep it, to fund all those things that I mentioned: sewer, NAPVIG intersection, NAPVIG extension. with just the future development we have in that quadrant of the interchange. So then you can start to look at different, scenarios. Well, what if we don't extend that big? Or what if we extend that big and assess the abutting properties who are going to benefit from that big instead of having the TID cover it? Same could be said for the intersection itself. So it doesn't have to be all of one or all of the other. Maybe the TID funds the sewer extension to the site, and then the rest of it gets assessed to property owners. Furthermore, you can look at how do we make the revenue picture better? And you can make the revenue picture better by expanding, the area that you collect revenue from. That could be via a bigger TID that might go, across 12 or across N to collect, additional value from new development there. It could be a second tax incremental district that is closer to Madison along 12 that grabs, some additional properties there. The area G, right. I'm presuming that the town would allow connections to the sewer line between, the MMSD interceptor and this area A a few miles down the road. You'll get some revenue from, allowing connections, whether there's a TID or not in between. So there's a lot of different potential scenarios that are in between, maybe a big picture, like we're going to make this thing totally explode and that'll just pay for all this, and, just limiting it to area A. So that's the, the results of the work that we did. I could answer some more questions or dig deeper. There's certainly more detailed feasibility analysis you can do involving Ellers and to get to the, more detailed picture. I can tell you, that the higher interest rates don't help at all with the feasibility. I mean, if we were at a 2.5% interest scenario, as opposed to a 5.5%, we would be talking a lot differently. The interest cost, over 20 years is significant. And so, and you can't bite off that $3.5 million sewer expense in small bites. You gotta dive right in to get to that 3.5 million. So you're at least borrowing for that with the future tax increment from the tax incremental district or districts to pay it back. And so then there's interest expense every year to factor into the mix.
Question? Clear as mud.
Yeah, where do you make money?
Well, after 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yep. 20 years, you don't have
people that are
the expenses paid off.
Involved today aren't going to make anything out of this. I mean,
I might still be here.
well, you might be, but
It's an investment.
Yeah.
And like you make investments personally when you're in your 20s or 30s. And hopefully you do that as a community too. But like a personal investment, there's risk involved in a municipal investment.
not taxpayer money though.
Yeah, that's your choice. That's your policy
That's right.
decision as a board.
And I look at the village extending to the north farther and what they're doing right now with sewer and water. And I look at us trying to do this, and we're going to be fighting against what the village is doing.
How would you say that?
Well, why wouldn't you? We're going to be competing.
To an extent, you will.
They have sewer and water already.
You will still probably be focused on a business that either doesn't want to be in the village or the village doesn't want to a certain extent. I think you're always going to be, appealing to businesses that want to move people or products around. You're going to be appealing to businesses that do want to have outdoor storage. You're going to be appealing to businesses that may not meet a village design, requirement for, all brick or stone or whatever. And some of those in commercial and industrial buildings just have, pretty darn high standards. And so, I think you probably still, compete in the market. What we saw with these other examples is, whether it's Blue Mountains or Sullivan, a lot of them, Sullivan's right down the road from Oconomowoc, who has got the same thing as the village of Cottage Grove does. So they're just, in certain ways, tapping into a different market. But it definitely is competition.
Well, you look at the money we put into North Star Road, in fact, that money even for what's on there, are we ever gonna make the money back by what's there right now? For the investment we put into the road and everything?
Why is it that there has to be 100% or more payback for everything that we do?
Well, you know, we should act like a commercial entity sometimes, you know. My belief, if it's such a good thing to do, it should be done by private enterprise, period. And I still feel that way, in our case, in a town.
I understand that perspective.
If Houston's want to build a road on their property, go to it.
There is some sharing of risk and expense, particularly for big ticket items that no one private party can bear. And so that's where government kind of steps in and says,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I understand.
we can do that. And, you know, we'll all benefit from that. And so, yeah, so the idea with the tax incremental district is it's not village taxpayer money that's paying for it all at any point. It's borrowing that's being paid back by the additional taxes that are generated by the investment.
But you know, you look at all the stuff that's been built in the Villages Park, but yet the taxes on a $200,000 or $300,000 house went up almost $200. And we didn't go up. We didn't go up. We haven't gone up in years. How can they have all that industry, but yet the taxpayer today is still paying more, even though they got an economic development park?
Because it's in a tip.
I understand that.
Well, you have different service levels. I mean, obviously it's a complex picture, you know that.
I understand it. Yeah.
And again, I'm not here to debate you, Mike.
No, I
I'm
agree.
just laying out this
Your
option.
information is great.
Yeah.
Absolutely right on the button.
But on your point, Mike, for what we did to North Star Road, we'll probably never get that back if we keep building pole sheds.
No, I agree with, I voted for it, the road, you know,
Right.
so but did I ever think it was going to get to this? No way in hell.
We need a better clientele that wants to build there rather than pole sheds that they put up.
More cheaply.
Yeah, they're more expensive buildings.
Yeah.
Much higher investment on our part.
Regardless of what you do, you know, I urge patience in your business park because, you know, the people I've talked to, including folks at Mad Rep, there is demand for space in the area and you don't have to accept everything that comes forward to you. Most of it requires rezoning, which is, you know, you got a lot of discretion over, along with the county to say yes or no. A lot of it requires a conditional use permit, especially when we get to outdoor storage type things. You have the ability to say yes or no. So, you know, setting aside any of this is just, you know, be patient and, you know, wait for what you want. You got a good asset there regardless. You know, as I came up from Janesville, I hopped off, you know, the interstate at N and there I was. It was, you know, it's very accessible that way. It's very accessible in all directions to the region. And so I don't spoil it. Don't feel you have to fill it to pave some, you know, road back as soon as possible. Be patient and demand as much as you can.
Does the TID have to be geographically connected?
To each other?
I mean, from
internally?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be. So if you created a TID in area A and you wanted to also create one closer to Madison, you would actually be creating two separate districts unless you could somehow figure out a way to snake them together, and there may not be an advantage to do that anyway.
No, I'm just thinking if.
But you could split the
have
cost.
some land at AB and 12.
Yeah.
Huh?
Area G.
Yeah, I mean, on the map, that was our area G.
You
Yeah.
know, and I'm just thinking comparing that, 3+ miles away to A, if they would be, two separate kids or part of one.
Yeah, probably, Steve, it would be two separate ones, and then they could kind of function independently, but they could still split the costs for like the sewer extension based on proportional benefit. The big limit, you can create, infinite number of tax incremental districts. The big limitation is that you can't have more than 12% of your equalized excess value within it, all your TIDs combined. That's the state's law. And that's at the start.
Mhm.
If you're hugely successful, which many TIDs in greenfields are, you'll sometimes get over 12%. That doesn't mean you have to close them down. That just means you're out of the game for creating any more or expanding any TIDs once you've reached that 12% number.
So Mark, if we only did sanitary sewer to area A, projected revenue is 6.1. And if we only did the sanitary sewer, our expenses are 3.5.
Plus interest.
Plus our
Plus
interest and admin.
Yeah. So I didn't calculate the interest on 3.5 at 5.5%.
Right, it would be-
But you're probably, close to, breaking even.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're plus or minus, but we could certainly run that scenario. I didn't do it in advance of that meeting.
You say break even, that's with the interest to just get to 6 million?
3.5 million to get the sewer to the front
Right.
door. And then, then interest expense on 3.5 million plus the administrative expense to run the TID. You would think you'd be at 6.1 million or so, about the same revenue, and that's good. I mean, and I would think that if you decided to go in that direction, you'd want some commitment from one or more users to say, I want the sewer, and I'm gonna bring you X property value to help you with this. It's like a down payment on a house, right?
Yeah.
You at least want to have, know as a bank that someone's got some skin in the game.
Mhm.
And I think that would be my, advice if you decided to just, keep it simple. We're going to get sewer to the front door. The rest of it is up to you. And the other thing that goes along with that is that getting to a situation where you then require sewer connections in those areas. So you're not just still getting the pole buildings. And that's, a little to do with figuring out how to get the sewer to North Star Road, even if the NAPIC extension in North Star has to trail behind it.
Mhm.
Can we go back and the existing properties on NetVig? Can we go back and require hookups once we provide it? I think it's to be Madison North Star. Or I'm sorry, yeah,
I believe you
yeah,
can.
I'm sorry.
If the sewer's running in front of their property, I believe the state law would require, but I'd want to check that with Bill. Yeah.
you haven't heard from Bill.
Do we have any idea if Madison would even want to extend it? The sewer?
MMSD. Nick talked to MMSD and they didn't have any problem with extending it
No,
as we paid for it.
yep, no verbal conversations. It seemed like there wasn't concern up to MMSD from that perspective. So they have the capacity, what they anticipated for the town to hook up if they would so choose to go in that direction.
It would be the
Madison
town's,
won't let us hook up to their water pipes.
Yeah,
And what?
sewer too.
They won't let us hook up to their sewer only.
Not the water.
So there would be a closer,
Sewer.
so it would be closer, as I understand it, if there could be an interim connection to a city of Madison sewer pipe, They would have a monitoring, so they could monitor the flow there. And then that Madison pipe would connect to the MMSD pipe. And the initial indication we got from Madison is that they're not gonna allow that.
Yeah.
So that's why we probably know that Madison wouldn't allow connection to their municipal water system either, which is a bigger ask.
Explain that again now. You're saying, where would we hook up then?
Right directly to the MMSD interceptor. So the Madison,
Okay, yeah,
Pond,
you're right.
12 and
Yeah.
AB.
Well, I thought that's what we're looking at all along.
We were looking at alternatives.
so yeah, the MMSD, so Christine answered your question. The town would own the line from the MMSD interceptor. Nick, you correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
From the MMSD interceptor all the way to wherever it went, to the west.
Yep.
There's the east. And then there's there's a fee that MMSD charges for, using the interceptor. There's a connection fee and a ongoing
That's correct.
annual fee.
Yep. Actually, it'll be a quarterly. They bill quarterly. So there will be a meter they'll have set up there, and then they'll sample it every quarter. It's usually one full week during a quarter of the year. And once they get the results back after that quarter, they send the bill to the user, which would be the township. Then the township would have to pay.
Or you set up a utility district around the area that's served, and people get a sewer bill every quarter.
Right.
And that's what happens in the TIDs, even in villages. They just have to pay for the ongoing use of that.
Do you know of other municipalities that have done this, that have connected to MMSD?
Everyone that has sewer in Dane County is, in
Really?
the central part of Dane County, I should say.
Yeah, but a lot of municipalities in Dane County, Cottage Grove is, McFarland is, Shorewood, Maple Bluff, DeForest, yeah, Monona, yeah,
Stoughton doesn't, they have their own, Deerfield has their own.
Oregon has their own,
When you get farther out from the center.
Yep. but a lot of adjacent municipalities to Madison are connected to MMSD.
Town governments, Westport certainly is one of them. That's connected to MMSD.
Town of Middleton?
Middleton doesn't have a sewer, no.
Doesn't, really?
City,
City
Yeah.
of Milton does with the
but
town.
town isn't all in, well, in septic, yeah.
Pretty smart. No, I'm sorry.
What kind of power options are available for electricity and gas? Because that's what I find limits a lot of what are going into these industrial parks. If you can't get them the power and you can't get them the gas for whatever they need to do, doesn't matter if you have sewer, doesn't matter if you have water, can't get them the supply they need.
No, we haven't even discussed that portion.
You don't typically pay for that, you let the energy
Right.
company.
Yeah.
Gotta get it done.
There's gas
It's already there.
that's secure
yeah, we got there in the
up on the hill.
Gas
There's
is a
natural
long
gas
end.
up there.
Yeah.
Gas is a long answer.
Or three-phase
So-
power.
Natural
Yeah.
gas is
Yep,
close.
all the way to the end of the road already.
Well, it's
North Star, end of North Star, Capitol Underground.
a capital underground.
That'll help keep the
They bored that
bullshits
under
out.
12 and 18.
We wanted them to put it underground, they put it above ground.
They put it under.
Not all of it.
They bored it under 12 and 18, went all the way underground, all the way up to Capitol Underground. It's where all the big green pads are, all the way up through there.
There's still,
There's still the old overhead to the house.
oh. Okay,
Just to the edge of where the house is there.
yeah.
That's where the power poles end.
That's Alliant you're talking?
Yeah.
Their standard is all underground now.
Questions, comments?
I'm surprised that there wasn't gonna be as much of a payback for the expense if you were to add water to the. I figured there'd be a better payback or a bigger payback than what you're saying, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're over the life of the TID, we've got, 3 million more in value created. The problem is that the expense of the water system is 5.3 million.
Yeah.
Plus interest.
Yeah. Didn't realize the water tower was so expensive.
You're not piping it from anywhere other than the,
What's that?
you're not piping it from anywhere other than underground, bringing it up. Not like the sewer would be. So I did have one question. If you guys did put in water, assuming the sewer is a foregone conclusion, are there any other residential areas in there that we could help with that? Helping those go in the water and sewer to help pay for it?
There's no subdivisions near
There's
there.
nothing out there.
I'm thinking of on the southwest side, southwest of the storage place, if there was some, because I thought there was talk about residential up in there.
Oh, Chris's name.
Other side of the road. Yeah,
Well, big subdivision.
but that
Or had
Storage
talked about
garage?
doing something in those hay fields back behind Gene's old farm, but that's never,
It's
never
That would be
It's
a
not
good
currently
sign.
planned for subdivision development, so.
I'm
you know-
thinking out
Yeah.
further. So, but if you had that, then that would really be a good selling point for that thing.
Right.
If you have the water and sewer out there already.
And you see that map behind us here, all the red areas are planned for commercial development. Some of it is on the west edge is pretty much committed to Madison. But all of the stuff around the interchange is red. And so if you guys were going to provide one or both utilities, it would probably make sense to revisit the comprehensive plan to say, okay, now that we've got this additional asset, what does it mean for our land use planning?
Kind of what I'm saying too. Yeah.
Right, yeah, absolutely what you're saying.
If we would create a second TID for area G, okay,
Yeah,
would that stop the village of McFarland from coming any more north?
not necessarily, but if you provide, the reason cities and villages grow is that they have sewer and water utilities to serve the development.
Mhm.
And if you take away one of those things, you take away some of the incentive for annexation.
how much of the area east of here that was affected by hydrite how many homes, it's been so long. I mean, is there a lot of homes that might benefit from municipal water?
Not in that area, I wouldn't think.
It's all more up off to Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking of the houses on top of the hill near the one that just went in last. Those kind of.
Denny's.
Denny's, yeah, if he were to, you
Oh.
could throw water and sewer up there too.
It's another 4 miles, 3.5 miles north.
Not close at all.
But how's the water quality up there?
I know.
Do they go
Nobody's
from-
complaining.
And they had that.
And they're all brand new systems. I wouldn't see anybody there wanting to do anything.
You're upwind of the old landfill.
And they don't share wells either.
And what?
They don't share wells, they have their own well.
No.
The biggest advantage for sewer service is for a new residential area.
Yeah.
Because there's a few of them, town of Roxbury is one that comes to mind
Oh,
immediately. They
yeah.
have sewer there, and the newer development can then get to 1/4 acre lots. And so you can fit 4 lots in the space that you can fit 2 in a rural situation, and you get more value out of it.
Well, just a little farm.
Oh, just. That can be residential.
I just got one comment on the roadway situation too, is keep in mind when you guys participate in roadway layout, you can kind of direct where the road's gonna go. If you rely on just one property to fend for themselves, they're gonna put it in where they want it and it's gonna serve their property. There'll be no connection through anywhere else. So I just know that long-range planning in a lot of these committees I've sat on before in the past, that's not a good way to approach if you plan on doing something else in the future. You want to have a layout, a master plan for that whole area.
Right.
And make sure that and participation is one way to, whatever the percentage is or whatever, but participation is the one way to get that to go that direction.
I agree. What would be our next step?
Might have been a factor.
You know, I tried to win the $1 billion. I almost was there. Fortunately, give me $1 million.
Are there any monies available? I don't, this isn't your area really, but are there any monies available from other places?
We did some research on that a few months ago, and there might be a few sources that could help.
I asked about this before. I think it's
Best one, which we don't dive into, would be the economic development grant. Would probably be your best route to proceed. From rural development, we use them a ton, but they don't do anything with new. There has to be something in the ground or a high indication of a bunch of maybe failing septic systems, where then you could justify it underneath their regulations to get money from rural development, and same thing through DNR programs, which would be the Clean Water Fund through them. So they follow the same guidelines as rural development. So, but economic development, from our experience, we don't dive into it, but there's other individuals that would potentially be the best route to potentially get some money.
So, I mean, you guys, where do you go from here? If you guys, thought, hey, a scale back version of this might work, but put together a pro forma or a funding package, well, how would we make this all work? We could make some calls, one of us to, one of these funding sources, and they could tell us, yeah, it's a good candidate project. MADREP, the Regional Economic Development Agency, is gung ho about getting more industrial sites on. They may be a resource for us here locally to do some of that research and feel some of that stuff out. So, if you feel like some of this has merit that you want to pursue, then I think the next step might be, hey, put together a package for how this could actually, work. And step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of game plan.
Wade, have you gotten a commitment from that one company for the acreage that they were talking about?
They were looking at 20 with the possibility of going to 30, but they have a facility now in northern Wisconsin where they are on septic and on well, and they really don't want to go that route with their uses.
They don't want to go to.
They don't want to do a septic and their own well with fire protection again.
They don't want to do their own well, so they need water as well as sewer.
Yeah.
Well, they need a sprinkler system, plus they use water for some of their business.
Well, I think that's a big point. If they need a municipal water system, then you're in this $8 million, $9 million range.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it off well now. They'd rather be on municipal water instead of. Because you get a building to that size, you hook up municipal water, your fire pump, you're ready to go. It's like the county building with the underground storage tank, and we did one in Arlington the same way, big underground. They had 2 wells, one for domestic, one just for dedicated fire protection with a big underground tank.
Yeah.
It was a big cost there.
It can be done.
It can be done, yeah. It just costs, it might be cost prohibitive for them to pull the trigger on it.
Especially if they had 2 or 3 good buyers and they could.
Well,
put in
how far do you want your district to go?
Yeah.
It can be done with one 30-acre chunk, but it's got to have its merits too for itself.
Yeah, we need more than 30 acres to pay for it. We need more than 30 acres to pay for just sewer. We need a hell of a lot more to pay for sewer and water.
Right. You got to design your whole intersection. Interchange. A lot of land out there.
But you lose a lot of land with septic.
Right.
Yeah.
You got a big potential there with the whole area. So that the rest of the people don't have to pay for it. It's got to be designed as a group.
Should we ask Mark to redo the figures for sanitary sewer only and the TID, but not including anything for the intersection and North Star Road,
Right.
and come back with how that would look. You would have for interest in, and then with the overall cost.
So how do you do it without water then? Everybody does it well, or they doing well, or what?
Yeah, still private wells.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there would be that, you don't have a, water bill,
Right.
but you have, as a private entity, more initial investment in being able to dig a well and maintain it.
And the size of the building.
And then the sprinkler versus no sprinkler.
And should we actually figure out, draw some lines on a map as far as how big we want this area to be in totality? I mean, the TID's got to be a defined space. I mean, a defined area.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should draw it based on an area that you think is promising for development.
Well, that's, yeah, and I
And,
don't know that we're qualified to do that.
and
I
that
mean-
development should be in the near term, because you need to then pay back, you need to have years of taxes to pay back the initial investment. So, I'm just gonna pick something because I know it's real. I mean, there's a extraction site there. If someone's told me, well, yeah, that's got 2 years left in it, and then we're gonna make it available for development, I'd say thumbs up, we should put that in the TID. But if it's got 20, 30 years in it, I'd say it's a waste of time.
Yeah, don't put it in.
Don't put it in. Yeah, keep that property tax value flowing to the places it's flowing right now.
Mhm.
Don't lock it up.
You've just raised a question that we kind of need to know.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
extraction, like the life of that.
we can certainly look to other areas. We've already talked about, adding this area G, way 3 miles to the west near AB in Madison. We could certainly look at that. And, we could look around to the areas that have, and that's been planned for commercial already. We could look for other areas that have been planned for commercial already as the first wave of additional helpers to pay the investment. But then you start to talk about like planning process, like, we're gonna revisit that map. That's, less about what I can direct and more about what you can direct. And, we have a public process to say, do we want all this?
Right.
Dick, did your research to date figure out which side of 12 it would run, north or south, coming out this way? The feeder, the sewer pipe?
Yeah, so the lowest spot, what it looks like, there's a couple different ones, but you're saying where the lift station would be?
Yeah. Correct, and then also, because I'm thinking there's more development right along 12 on the north side of 12 than there is on the south side.
Mm-hmm.
So if the pipe came through on the north side of 12, we could theoretically mandate that those properties right along there that it runs by could hook up, which would be pennies compared to the project, but I've always been a person, a buck's a buck, kind of thing.
So, yeah, I'll answer two things here. So if the pipe's even on the north side, you're saying run in parallel with 12 there, it's not as easy just to hook up because it's not a gravity pipe, it's a pressurized pipe.
Okay.
So with a pressurized pipe to hook up to a pressurized system, you need potentially another lift station or a smaller scale lift station to just hook up to it because it's two pressure systems. And then to jump over where that lift station is going to be, how it sits, that northeast corner does look like here potentially, because it looks like it also could gravity feed A, D, and potentially E with one lift station Where some of these other areas, like if you want to connect to G, you need another lift station, a pressurized system to hook into that pressurized pipe.
You couldn't do gravity from what's already existing in the ground there?
No. So when existing, you mean in the ground, or where are you going to be putting new in the ground? For
Well,
putting the new pipe.
G is right there where they're doing all the construction right now.
Yep.
All right. And so any connections there would have to be pressurized to hook up to the city? Or I mean, to MMSD, I mean?
MMSD's pipe doesn't extend that far. So it doesn't go all the way to G, because you can see your intersection. There'd be
Can you serve any part of G with gravity, Nick?
doubtful. I would have to look into it more, but it's highly unlikely.
So in other words, the county isn't going to have any active sewer right there at the corner of 12 and AB?
They are going to have active sewer, but majority of that's Madison's active sewer.
You can't hook onto Madison.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Madison's pipe as opposed to MMSD's pipe.
Yep.
Right. So you're saying we only need one lift station?
He's saying if we serve G in addition to A, we might need 2 lift stations, thereby increasing the costs of sewer service.
How much?
So you might get some additional benefit in tax revenue in G, but you have additional
How much
expense.
more is that for another lift station?
Depends on the size, but you could say 750,000.
Okay.
Just
chump change. Yeah.
Everything's downhill, then back up. That's why it's gonna be pressurized. Can't use gravity.
But Nick, you said in addition to A, what were the other areas you thought might be able to be served by the same lift station around either G?
Just looking at county contours, it looks like potentially A, if a lift station is that vicinity with some dirt moving, you could potentially serve D and B all off one lift station.
But not F, C, and G then.
Maybe some of E, but C is pretty flat and low, so it'd be difficult to serve that vicinity unless additional soil is brought in to raise it up if there's no disturbance or anything with wetlands and so forth. And then same, you could say the same thing with E, depends on how much dirt moving would be needed to actually serve those gravity, but just looking at county contours, A, D, and B look potentially feasible off of one lift station.
That gives a little bit of help. Focus, I guess.
All right, what else?
More info, we'll get more questions, I'm sure.
I'd like to see that big intersection and that big to North Star included. I'm sorry.
In what? Included in what?
In the next phase.
I was in favor, but I'm no longer in favor
I'm
of
not in
that.
favor.
I let go of that.
They're in this,
I know,
and you're 3 million short.
I know, but you had said that you wanted not to include that.
Yeah, to see what the cost would be, not including those 2 items. We move that 3.1 down further. That would then be acceptable or not, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to create a tax incremental district, you could still list those as potential projects
Yeah.
within the TID, and you just wouldn't undertake them until and unless the picture in the TID was there to actually fund them, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, you don't have to borrow, you're gonna have to borrow for the sewer line. There's no way around it. You can't just sort of do that project or postpone that project till year 10. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't create a TID if you don't have sewer.
Right.
Anyway, so that's one thing that you have to absorb, but it's possible that you could still plan for the potential for these other projects in your TID, but just you wouldn't spend the money initially
Okay.
and you wouldn't spend it
Say
until.
that
it
again,
was-
without sewer, you can't have a TID.
That's right.
Right.
I don't remember that being said before.
Yeah, that was when I came in January and then last year and I got all excited for a TID and
So
we discovered that
so
later.
if we're gonna work on anything, that's gotta be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other stuff is, in my opinion, is immaterial.
Well, like I said, I would like to see NATPIG and N included, but I'm willing to let that go, like provided that we study everything else.
Well, Chris, you're just talking about the sewer right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the only, I'm not talking about
See
water.
what the sewer,
Yeah.
what the admin and the interest would be, then just on that. I mean, it's not gonna make
A heck of a
lot
lot.
of
And I'd
difference.
like to know a little bit of, is there more
Great.
ideas where money could come from?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Anything else that we need direction for them? Okay,
Do we need a motion for that or no, or?
I don't think so.
Okay, since
I think we
Go
can.
and be blessed.
discuss and consider.
Sounds like everyone's in favor of continuing to talk about it.
Yeah.
I just got a text from the attorney, he's a half an hour out.
I would not bother.
They're
always
save some money.
Get a key?
I think he agrees.
Still gonna get billed, don't worry.
Wow. How
$300.
Nick, did we apply for bill grant for culvert on Milas
Not
the
the
second time?
bill grant, but we applied for there through Dane County, if I'm thinking of the correct culvert. Dane County's culvert reimbursement program.
BIL was, I was hoping, up off.
Yeah, for the road reconstruction, you're talking. Right, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah, we applied for that for the road reconstruction.
There's another one that's,
That's coming up in March. We were anticipating it to apply again. I was gonna have that conversation.
but there's another one that we should probably replace on NATPIG. It's a very narrow concrete.
Yeah, we can talk about that and get that application together too, if need be.
See if they have money that they would give us for that one.
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on to Public Works Department. Road right of ways.
You gonna do the D or no?
No.
I had it twice on the agenda.
We never settled if what we were doing mowing or outlot 2. For one, for the ponds,
For mowing.
and then what about the park area? We deem it a park, we have to, we gonna take care of it as a park? Or are we gonna?
I would say just the area where the playground equipment is.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not gonna,
Unless there's something else, Bill.
We had the rest of it planted in wild.
We're always planted in that, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow. Did you have all of it?
Yeah, the center there, the park ground, all that center there is all wild grass.
Prairie?
Yeah.
But that's what it was, a walking path and everything, so. But we had to let it grow though too, and we mowed it. I don't know if we ruined it or not.
What ruined what?
We weren't supposed to mow that in the first year, that center.
You weren't
grass.
supposed to?
No, but we got asked to.
Oh,
Keep doing it.
You don't like.
I would much rather grass. You can kick a soccer ball, throw a baseball.
Yeah, that's not regular grass though, that's
I know.
growing there.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
If we
We
could
play
at least
baseball on it, we know.
have the center area, sure, it would be nice.
So what's next, guys?
So, yeah, so
Give us permission, I'll cut it.
Can I have some more
I just don't-
basically is, yeah, if it's park ground, then we take care of it.
You don't want to take care of it as a park.
No, if it's an outlot, we have to charge the HOA to take care of it. Right? That's the way it's set up and,
I don't know, there's nothing I mean, because it was intended to be prairie grass like that, it was never discussed. And so there's not an agreement with the HOA for them to maintain it like there is the other outlet.
yeah.
So if you guys decide that you're gonna make it a park, I don't know that you can go back and make the HOA pay to maintain that. There's no agreement on that one.
No, then we just take care of it like the
So
other
then it
12
would just
parks.
be- So then it would just be a matter, somebody's gotta decide if you're gonna mow the whole thing or you're gonna leave some of it in prairie grass.
Well, I'd say you mow where the equipment is, and if 10 years from now or 5 years from now, they want to do something else, then we look at it.
Can I do that in all the parks?
It would- No, that would, well,
Not Ravenwood, sorry.
No.
but there should be a little
I
precedent,
think we'll mow it all.
the whole thing.
It won't take that long. There's 2 mowers. We even figured it out, what it would cost to do that area. That's the one with Dan and Justin
Yeah, that was
for the year, 28 mows. That's every week
about
for the summer.
$1,600.
Yeah, so you just mow it. It'll look better. Maybe if we get it fertilized, I'll have our fertilized company look at it, to see if it's something that we could fertilize and maybe turn into something. We might have to overseed it.
And some other grass.
Yeah, we might have to overseed it this spring.
Yeah. Maybe maybe from the HOA to help with the initial setup of it.
Pay for the $300 a seed.
I'll supply the seed. Addison Parks, it's yours.
So usually what we use, yeah.
Sounds great.
That's what everybody uses. So.
Yeah. But, yeah, okay.
You bring the mulch, I'll bring the seed.
All right, road right of way.
I had one, since our last meeting, Frontier Communications, they're gonna be doing a hookup on Hugh Bread Lane, 1882 Hugh Bread underground service. That's all I had for right-of-way permits.
All right,
Other than that, we've just been taking care of Thursday snowstorms.
Sounds like you're gonna get another one here.
Yeah, this one sounds
Every
good.
Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, every Thursday but one since the beginning of the year.
Wow. So how late did you mow?
Plow.
Or- We were talking about.
Thursday night, last Thursday.
So we left after normal work and let it snow because it came down heavy there for a while. And then we went back in at 8 and plowed till 5 a.m. And then we had enough time in. So then we took Friday off. We just slept.
Good.
Yeah, it was a long night.
The roads look good.
Thanks. Good as they could.
How's the salt this year?
Good. Just finally ordered it.
Yeah.
Today, sent the order today. 300 ton coming.
Okay. That's the last of
That's everything for this year.
this
That'll
year's
fill
order.
the shed again.
All right, clerk's office update.
There's an election tomorrow.
There is. Going early.
So that's the main thing, I guess.
Are you expecting a heavy turnout or not?
I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I mean, there's a lot of interest in it compared to, in other of similar primary, but it seems like there's a lot more interest, but we'll see who shows up. And we don't have some TV ballots out yet, and I'm hoping that it's not because people didn't factor in the fact that there was no mail today. But it was, it's about 244, and about 108, and there's 180 are back, so there's quite a few out yet. So,
Did you have many in-person absentee
yeah,
voters?
I don't have exactly, not a ton, actually. I mean, we had some, of course, but not very heavy traffic like sometimes.
A lot of money being spent on this election,
Yes, there is.
especially for one candidate.
Yes.
Board reports and communications. I guess I don't have anything to report.
Nope.
Committee reports, Deer Grove EMS. We have a contract that we're going to have work done for Deerfield that we're done with, Town of
Town of
Deerfield.
Deerfield, yes.
And we're working on the one for Town of Pleasant Springs. And I've asked Fire to have that on next Monday's agenda so that they can have theirs done because the two have to go together.
Was Town of Deerfield looking for anything out of the ordinary or just an extension pretty much of what they're getting
We're
now
offering them a 3-year extension.
at the current rates?
No,
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no,
No, that's fine. I
No.
was hoping not, but
no,
no,
okay.
no. Considerably
no,
up,
yes.
but only a 3 years, so that coincides with the labor contract.
Gotcha.
I think that was about it.
And that was the same way with Pleasant Springs too, with the 3-year. Right?
Yeah, we'll do them same way.
Okay.
Emergency government.
Well, we approved the SOP and it's done and
Have that on the.
it'll be on the agenda for next meeting. And everything that we did the copies of, it's all approved with the way
Okay.
it was done. Everybody was very impressed with the last page.
That was very impressive.
Okay,
I move we adjourn. Got it again.
Second,
motion by Duplace, second by Williams. It's non-debatable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
and Kim, everybody was there, including Chris. You hear me? You knew that already? I didn't get an attendance.